Hi, it's Mike from AskTractorMike.com. Today we're going to talk about a tool that I find really handy around my place in my particular situation, and that is a tree puller. And what a tree puller is, it's a device that goes on front of the tractor. You have to have front hydraulic remote connections on the front of your loader to squeeze together around the base of a tree, and then you just lift your loader up and it lifts the tree right out of the ground. It's pretty slick, and I'm going to tell you the advantages of this tool today and the disadvantages, because there are some disadvantages of using this tool. First, the advantages. Number one thing I like about a tree puller is you're pulling the entire tree out of the ground. Now, you might leave a few roots around, but you're pulling the bulk of the tree out, and there's no stump there. The nice thing about that is you're using, you're not having to use chemicals to keep it from stump sprouting, and there's no stump. Now, will it sprout back up from the roots that you leave? You may get all the roots, but there's a lot of trees, depending on the variety, where you leave a few roots and they'll stick out of the ground. I don't know the answer to that. I think a lot of that depends on the variety of tree you're pulling out of the ground. But that's the number one advantage, is you're getting everything out. The second advantage of it versus a tree shear is when you're pulling it out, you have control of it. You've got it clamped in your jaws here. So if you want to move it over to a burn pile, you can go ahead and run over there and drop it off in the burn pile. You handle it once. And I find that to be a huge advantage, being able to control the tree and not just have it flop down and having to go around and get under it with a grapple or something to get it out, which is not a big deal, but it is nice to have control of it. And that's especially important if you're cutting stuff that's just nasty with thorns of some kind, like thorny locust trees or multiflora rose bushes or something like that. You can drag them off where they need to go and not get near them again or not step on them. It gets all of that debris away to a burn pile, and you're done with it. The next thing I like about this, and where I'm going to be using this tool a lot, is fence rows. I struggle with keeping fence rows clean. These teeth are low enough that they'll go under most of my fence rows and then clamp onto whatever I need and then just back up and kind of pull it out. And if you have sprouts, if you had a fence row maybe you cleaned 5 years ago and it sprouted back up, this is a tool to get it clean again and keep it clean. So I really like being able to go under fence rows. Now, with a tree shear, you can go under fence rows as well, but sometimes those trees are kind of mangled into the fence and you have to come in and hand pull them out. This thing, you're going to pull them out of the fence and take them away. So that's a big advantage. The next thing I like about a tree puller, it really doesn't disturb the soil that much. I like to come in about this time of year in either the fall or the late winter, pull those trees out of the ground, and then you have all winter while the snow and the rain comes in spring and kind of redistributes the soil. So when you're done, you don't really have much of a hole. It just kind of comes back and the grass comes out, and you really can't notice where you pulled that tree out. So you pull it out, and then sometimes you've got to shake it a little bit to get the dirt ball off of the tree, but there's really not much of a hole there, and what there is will kind of fill in on its own over time. So I like that about it. The next thing I like about a tree puller, I have a problem with grapevines, like huge grapevines, and the tree puller can pull those grapevines out of the tree they're in, and in this time of year when the leaves are off, not damage the tree. So I like being able to grab and pull those grapevines away and then take them to the burn pile. I hate grapevines. They're really hard on trees, and you can get them out as you're pulling them. The next thing I like about this particular tree puller, it has hardened teeth on the end of it. So if you encounter a tree that's a little bit bigger that you can't pull out, you can actually plunge these into the ground and try to sever some of the roots and then pull it out. Now, that's something I probably wouldn't have a bit of problem doing with a skid loader. With a tractor, if you get too involved in trying to pull bigger trees out and dig these in the ground, you can tweak your loader frame. I mean, loader frames, especially if you go back and take a run at it, are really not designed for that. But if it's just on the marginal end of being able to pull it out, you might be able to cut 1 or 2 roots and then pull it on out with a tree puller. So it is possible to dig out a small stump with these, and we'll do that in another video. And finally, the next thing I really like about a tree puller is if I've got something to move around, like I've got a fair-sized rock that I want to move, I can do that with a tree puller. I just pull the jaws together till they clamp on the rock and move it away. So unlike a tree shear, which you can't do that, you can move stuff around a little bit, odd size stuff, and get it where you need it. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of a tree puller. The first big disadvantage, and the big question everybody watching this video has, is how big a tree will it pull out? And one of the main disadvantages of this tool right here is I really can't tell you that. It depends on your tractor size, but probably more so on the soil conditions and on the tree variety. And so there are variables in there. We can't just say a certain size tractor can pull out a certain size tree. And the reason for that is these things work best and really work, period, when there's been some moisture, when there's been rain or snow, when the ground is loose. In this area in August when we've had a drought, I don't think this is going to work at all. I can't wait to try it, but I'm going to predict to you right now the ground is hard enough and compacted enough, and the kind of soil conditions we have in the Ozarks, you're not going to be able to do anything with it in the month of August. Now, September, October, when the fall rains come, and the spring when there are rains, you can get out and pull stuff out easily. So you can't use it all the time, and you really can't predict how big a tree you can pull out. That's the main disadvantage. And having said that, the trees in this area, I notice a big difference. In certain trees are real easy to pull out of the ground, and others are harder. So it depends on the root system. If you've got a tree with a small root ball, it might just pop out of the ground. But if you've got an elm tree that's got roots that are going everywhere, way out, may be tough to use this, and you may break off a lot of roots. So telling you how big a tree it'll pull out, I can't do that. But I've got most of my bigger trees, probably from this size on up, I've cut by hand with a chainsaw or used a tree shear on a demo. So this is a better tool for me going after the underbrush and the small trees, and especially in fence rows. Another big disadvantage of a tree puller is on the smaller stuff, you may not get it out of the ground. If it's really, really small material, it may just kind of slide up the stalk and bark it up a little bit and not pull it. I mean, it's got to be pretty small to do that. This locks pretty good on a lot of trees and small shrubs. But the other disadvantage is if you have like a dead tree you're trying to pull out by the roots, or one that is smaller, it may break it off. I've seen that more than I have it sliding up the bark, but either is possible. And finally today, the last disadvantage of this tool versus the mini clip tree shear I showed a few months ago. The mini clip can go up in the air and rotate and cut limbs. And of course, you can't do that with this. You're just pulling with this. So the mini clip does a great job of going up, clipping up in the air and down on the ground. So if you want to prune your trees and cut the undesirables, you can with the mini clip. With this, you're just pulling stuff out of the ground. So in the end, is this a tool for you? Well, if you're like me and you've got a lot of small stuff and you've got a lot of fence rows you want to clean out, you want to get rid of the grapevines and the thorny stuff and take that to the burn pile and make it totally go away. I take great pride and I get great excitement out of pulling a thorn tree or a multiflora rose bush clump out of the ground and taking it to the burn pile and making it go away forever, versus cutting it off and then having to get something in there to pull it out and try to get it to the burn pile. So I really do like this tool. This is a tool that I'm going to own going forward, and I think it'll help me really clean up my place. But if I had 20 acres of just total brush and I needed to get it done, a tree shear might be a better option for that. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'd be honored. Click the mic face icon and check the bell so you're notified when I post videos. If you'd like to buy this product or the mini clip tree shear, go to my website right here. And if you'd like to see the mini clip in action, and if you're trying to decide between that and this product, watch this video. Thanks for watching.